What draws a wanderer across the dark between stars, only to arrive at the quiet doorstep of Mars? In the cold stillness of interstellar space, silence has endured longer than memory. It is the silence of broken suns and forgotten worlds, of collisions whose echoes have faded into nothing. Across this ancient emptiness, a solitary traveler emerges, a fragment of matter that does not belong to our system. It is named 3I Atlas, the third interstellar object ever seen by human eyes. Mars, the red planet, turns slowly in its orbit. For thousands of years it has lived in human imagination as a god of war, a symbol of longing, a future home. Now it stands as a silent witness to something that defies expectation. The path of 3I Atlas, traced with faint lines of light by telescopes on Earth, carries it toward this very world. At first it seemed like another fleeting visitor, a cousin to Oumuamua and Borisov, drifting without concern. But then subtle anomalies appeared. Its motion shifted in ways the models could not fully explain. Its trajectory bent as if influenced by forces unseen. Why here? Why Mars? Why now? The question hangs like a shadow. Astronomers study its faint light curves, trying to decode a story written in fragments of reflection. Yet each answer opens another door to mystery. Has 3I Atlas changed its behavior? Is it merely a shard of cosmic debris or something stranger, something that carries within it the unspoken history of another star? At the doorstep of Mars, a silence older than time is broken. Humanity watches uncertain as the third visitor from beyond the stars approaches with secrets we are only beginning to glimpse. It began not with a blaze, but with the faintest whisper of light. On the high slopes of Mauna Loa in Hawaii, and from the clear skies above Chile, telescopes swept the heavens in their nightly search. Among countless points of light, one returned signals that did not fit the usual rhythm. It was dim, almost drowned in background noise. Yet its path across the starfield carried the unmistakable signature of something foreign. Astronomers gave it a provisional name, 3I Atlas. The I marked its interstellar origin. Only the third time in human history such a designation had been necessary. Like Oumuamua in 2017 and Borisov in 2019, it was not born of this sun. It had traveled across gulfs of space, through centuries or perhaps millions of years to arrive here. But from the very first calculations, this visitor showed signs of difference. Orbital tracking revealed a trajectory too steep, too fast, for anything bound to the solar system. Its velocity exceeded the escape speed of the sun itself. This was no comet from the distant Oort cloud. It was a messenger from another star. Telescopes measured its light curve, the tiny variations in brightness as it spun. But unlike Borisov, whose coma betrayed the outgassing of ices, or Oumuamua, whose reflection shifted with a strange, elongated shape, 3I Atlas gave mixed answers. Some measurements suggested it was breaking apart, fragmenting into smaller pieces that trailed faintly behind it. Others hinted at a body still intact, but influenced by forces that could not be traced to gravity alone. Studying such a visitor is a task balanced on the edge of impossibility. These objects arrive swiftly, revealed only in their brief passage. Oumuamua was first noticed after it had already swung past the sun and was leaving. Borisov was tracked for only a short arc before fading back into the void. Each time, astronomers rushed to capture what data they could, like trying to read an entire book from a handful of torn pages. With 3I Atlas, the challenge is even sharper. Its faintness, combined with its speed, pushes the limits of our instruments. It does not announce itself boldly, but hides within uncertainty. And yet, what data could be gathered raised questions that deepened the mystery. The trajectory of 3I Atlas seemed to align unusually close to the orbit of Mars. Coincidence, perhaps. After all, planetary paths are many and space is vast. Yet the curve of its passage brushed close enough to suggest encounter. Mars, the world humanity has long considered its next horizon, suddenly stood in the path of an uninvited guest. This alignment was unsettling, for it echoed a pattern of chance that seemed almost deliberate. Why should the third interstellar object ever observed draw near not to Jupiter's great bulk, nor to Saturn's wide rings, but to the red world, the very stage upon which humanity projects its myths and its future? Was it simple mathematics of orbit, or a reminder that randomness can look like intent when viewed through the narrow lens of fear? Early data hinted at behavior that resisted simple categories. A fragmenting body would be expected to fade quickly, its brightness scattering into dust. Yet 3I Atlas held its signal longer than such models predicted. Some theorists suggested outgassing from exotic ices, perhaps compounds unfamiliar to our own solar system. Others raised the possibility of non-gravitational forces, similar to the unexplained acceleration that puzzled astronomers with Oumuamua. Each possibility opened doors to speculation, none fully satisfying. In the quiet halls of observatories, scientists debated. Was 3I Atlas a broken shard of a comet torn from another sun? Was it a survivor of an ancient planetary collision? Or could it be something rarer still, a fragment carrying within it the complex chemistry of alien worlds? The uncertainty itself was part of the terror. Humanity had only just begun to understand that interstellar objects are not myths, but regular visitors. The galaxy is filled with them, debris flung free during the violent births and deaths of solar systems. Each carries a story written in minerals and frozen gases in their strange trajectories across space. But 3I Atlas refused to tell its story clearly. It moved as though guarding its secrets, yielding only fragments of truth like a voice cut off mid-sentence. Mars, meanwhile, circled on. Its thin atmosphere glimmered faintly in the sunlight, its surface scarred by valleys and canyons that once carried water. And as it turned, it became the silent partner in this unfolding drama. The object's orbit, the planet's path, they converged in a slow celestial dance. Not a collision, but an encounter close enough to raise questions humanity could not easily silence. Why Mars? Why now? These were not questions of calculation, but of wonder, fear, and reflection. For if the universe sends its messengers without intention, then coincidence is the rule. Yet if intention hides in the patterns we cannot yet see, then perhaps 3I Atlas carries a meaning we are not ready to decipher. What began as a faint point of light had become an intruder in thought. Its discovery marked not only the arrival of a new object in the solar system, but the awakening of a deeper unease. The stars beyond are no longer distant. Their fragments fall into our skies, threading their way into the story of our planets. And Mars, the red world of dreams and war, now finds itself host to a visitor whose origins lie in the dark between suns. The first signs of 3I Atlas were almost invisible. Yet within them lies a mystery vast enough to change how humanity imagines its place in the cosmos. At first it seemed routine. Another faint body traced across the cold mathematics of the heavens. Its orbit was plotted, its future course projected. Yet the moment it neared the red horizon of Mars, something shifted. The numbers no longer aligned. Predictions bent. A silence older than memory was broken by a change so subtle it could only be seen through the sharpest instruments, but its implications carried the weight of unease. East Atlas was not following the path it should. It was accelerating. The anomaly was slight, measured in fractions of meters per second. Yet across the vast canvas of interplanetary space, such small deviations rewrite destinies. A comet nudged a fraction today can miss a planet by millions of kilometers tomorrow. A rock deflected slightly can fall into a world instead of passing safely by. Motion in the cosmos is a delicate balance, and when the balance breaks, it whispers of forces unseen. Einstein's theory of relativity teaches that velocity is not merely speed, but the very measure of time and space. Change an object's motion, and you alter its relationship to the universe itself. Astronomers studied the light curves, recalculated its trajectory, tested their instruments for error. Yet the data remained. Something was driving 3I Atlas in a way gravity alone could not explain. Natural theories rose quickly, as they must. Perhaps it was outgassing, jets of vapor from exotic ices heating under sunlight, pushing it off course. Such behavior explained the strange acceleration of Oumuamua, at least in part. But the pattern here was inconsistent. The faint light curves did not reveal a clear coma, no stream of gas trailing into space. If sublimation was at work, it hid beneath a mask of shadows. Others turned to tidal stresses. Perhaps the fragmenting body was shedding material as it twisted near gravitational wells, the release of momentum altering its course. Yet the scale of deviation did not match. Fragmentation, if it was happening, seemed both too uneven and too enduring. For every natural answer, more questions followed. If this was outgassing, why so irregular? If it was breaking apart, why had its brightness not collapsed? And why did the shift occur so near to Mars's orbital path, as if the presence of the planet itself had awakened something dormant within it? The struggle of science is not only in what is seen, but in what refuses to be seen clearly. Instruments capture only fragments. Equations describe only approximations. Between the numbers lives the unknown, vast and unyielding. The anomaly drew comparisons with Oumuamua. That elongated visitor, tumbling like a shard of glass, had also defied predictions, showing acceleration that no one could fully explain. Some spoke of hydrogen ice sublimating invisibly, others of fractal surfaces reflecting sunlight in ways never before modeled. Yet the possibility lingered that something deeper was at play, a force not yet described by current physics. Stephen Hawking once wrote that the greatest enemy of knowledge is not ignorance, but the illusion of knowledge. In the wake of 3I Atlas's strange acceleration, his words returned like an echo. Humanity assumes that the laws of physics are complete, that gravity, radiation, and matter account for all motion. But what if those laws are only fragments of a larger order, glimpsed like shadows cast by firelight on the walls of a cave? Einstein showed that time itself bends under gravity. Hawking revealed the strange paradoxes of black holes, where information might escape in radiation long after matter is lost. Each generation of science learns that certainty is temporary, that what feels solid will one day dissolve into a new understanding. And yet, when an object from another star bends its path in ways unaccounted for, the unease runs deeper. It is not merely about theory. It is about trust. Trust in the ability of human reason to describe a universe that resists being described. Around Mars, the calculations spread. Teams across the globe modeled the shift with increasing urgency. NASA's JPL, the European Southern Observatory, and independent astronomers from universities ran simulations, testing every variable. Could solar radiation pressure explain it? Could hidden fragments invisible to our telescopes be altering the balance? The answers were unsatisfying. The acceleration did not match the expected curves, and then came the possibility that unsettled even the most cautious minds. What if the force was not natural? The thought lingered, unwelcome, in late-night discussions and quiet papers. What if the anomaly reflected technologies, not geologies? A probe, disguised as a fragment? A vessel or a shard of something once greater, altered by intelligence? Mainstream science rejected such claims as it must, for evidence was thin. Yet speculation thrives where evidence frays, and in the margins of debate, fear found its voice. Mars, the red planet, turned slowly beneath the anomaly's approach. Its thin air, its rusted deserts, its frozen poles, all bore witness without answer. Humanity, watching from afar, carried its own projection of meaning. To some, 3I Atlas was only another shard of cosmic debris. To others, it was an omen, a question flung across the gulf between stars. The creeping unease was not in the object itself, but in the reflection it forced upon humanity. If forces exist beyond current physics, then what other visitors might cross these skies? If intelligence hides within fragments of rock, then what stories lie behind their silence? And if the anomaly is only coincidence, then why does coincidence echo with such intent? Astronomers pressed on, their tools straining to hold the faint light in focus. The numbers continued to shift. The models continued to bend. And above Mars, the third interstellar visitor carved its path with secrets no equation could fully bind. The change in motion was small, but in that smallness lived the terror of the unknown. What else waits in the silence between stars, waiting for the moment when human certainty breaks? Why Mars? The question rises from silence like a shadow against the stars. Out of every world the solar system holds, why should the third interstellar visitor seem to bend its anomaly so near to the red planet? Mars has long lived as a mirror of humanity. In ancient skies, it glowed with a restless light, a fiery spark drifting among the constellations. To the Babylonians, it was Nergal, the god of plague and war. To the Greeks, Ares. To the Romans, Mars, whose name still endures. Across cultures and centuries, it carried the same omen, the blood-colored planet that signaled conflict, destiny, and fate. Its glow was more than astronomical. It was psychological. In its color, humanity saw itself. Now the mirror returns, in a form no mythology foresaw. A fragment from another star, named Three-Eye Atlas, bends its path near Mars, and in doing so casts old symbols into new fears. The gods of antiquity are silent, but science speaks in their place. And yet, even in science, the questions sound strangely familiar. Why here? Why now? From a scientific view, the answer should be unremarkable. The solar system is a clockwork of orbits, and interstellar visitors obey geometry and gravity. Mars, smaller than Earth, lies just beyond the habitable zone, its orbit aligned with the pathways such travelers may chance to cross. Its gravity is weak compared to Jupiter's pull, but strong enough to influence fragments that stray near. Its atmosphere is thin, incapable of dramatic capture or fiery display, but enough to tug faintly on objects that graze its edge. The anomaly of Three-Eye Atlas may simply be coincidence, the unavoidable mathematics of probability written across infinite trajectories. Every so often, one will appear to favor a planet, not by intention, but by the impartial hand of chance. And yet, coincidence does not erase symbolism. For Mars is no ordinary planet in the human imagination. It is the world humanity has most often chosen as its future. Robotic emissaries already crawl across its deserts. Landers listen for the tremors of its crust. Rovers trace the chemical ghosts of ancient rivers. Every new mission paints a portrait of possibility. The possibility that humans may one day walk its canyons and raise shelters beneath its pale skies. In Mars, humanity projects both its longing and its escape, the promise of survival beyond Earth. To have an interstellar object alter its behavior here, of all places, feels like theater upon a cosmic stage, as though the galaxy itself chose the backdrop, not of Saturn's rings nor Jupiter's storms, but of this smaller, redder world. The symbolism deepens the unease. A fragment from another sun, behaving in ways no model can fully explain, brushing close to the planet we intend to call our second home. It feels as though the future and the unknown are converging. Scientists, bound to discipline, remind the world that symbolism has no mass, no velocity, no measurable curve. Mars is only a planet, and Three-Eye Atlas only a visitor. Yet even in their cautious language, the strangeness lingers. The alignment is close, too close to ignore. To understand its weight, one must look deeper into what Mars represents in both myth and science. It is a planet of contradictions. It is dry but shaped by water, dead but whispering of ancient life, small but immense in the human imagination. Its thin atmosphere betrays a vulnerability, its surface scarred by impacts and canyons that dwarf Earth's own. The Valles Marineris cuts the planet like a wound, stretching nearly a quarter of its circumference. Olympus Mons rises 3 times taller than Everest, a mountain born of fire that now sleeps. This landscape of extremes is more than geology. It is narrative. It tells of a world that might have been alive but lost its chance. To look at Mars is to look at a possible Earth that failed, and so it stands as both warning and invitation. Into this stage enters 3I Atlas, silent, dark, and shifting. The faint anomalies in its motion appear as though written into the script of Mars itself. A broken traveler meeting a broken world, a fragment from another system gliding near the planet humanity most longs to touch. The juxtaposition demands meaning, even if meaning is an illusion. Philosophers reflect on the possibility of hidden order. Perhaps coincidence is never truly random. Perhaps the cosmos is structured in ways humanity has yet to perceive. Just as ancient sailors once thought the stars were fixed in crystalline spheres, perhaps modern science, too, is blind to deeper architectures, unseen symmetries, or hidden attractors that draw events together. If so, then 3I Atlas near Mars may not be coincidence at all, but resonance. A meeting of trajectories dictated by laws still beyond reach. The thought is unsettling, for it suggests that humanity's steps into the cosmos are not entirely its own, that Mars, chosen by human ambition as a second home, might also be chosen by the universe as a stage for confrontation with the unknown. The symbolism grows darker when cast through the lens of myth. Mars, the god of war, receives a visitor that disrupts predictions and defies models. War is not always violence, but uncertainty, the breakdown of order. In this light, 3I Atlas becomes not only a fragment of alien rock, but a messenger carrying the specter of unpredictability. To prepare for Mars is to prepare for survival, yet how does humanity prepare for forces it does not understand? The thin atmosphere of Mars cannot shield it from impacts. The planet's lack of a magnetic field leaves its surface exposed to cosmic radiation. Its deserts whisper of loss, oceans gone, climate stripped, a living world turned barren. In such a place, even the faintest anomaly feels like omen. If Mars can fall, so too might Earth, unless humanity learns to read the warnings hidden in the silence of visitors like 3I Atlas. And still, the scientists calculate. They refine orbital curves, measure the faint shifts in velocity, and test every natural explanation. Yet behind the mathematics, the questions remain. Why here? Why Mars? Why now? The questions belong less to physics than to philosophy, to the human hunger for pattern in the vastness of chance. What if coincidence is only another name for a design too large to grasp? What if Mars, the mirror of humanity, is chosen because it reflects us back to ourselves? Perhaps 3I Atlas is only a fragment of stone, its anomaly born of forces ordinary but poorly measured. Or perhaps it is something else, a shard of the galaxy's hidden order, arriving not only near Mars, but into the heart of human imagination. In the stillness of space, the stage is set. The red planet turns, silent and waiting. Above it drifts a visitor from another star, carrying secrets across a distance humanity can barely conceive. Between them lies a mystery heavy with symbolism, a reminder that even in an age of science, the cosmos still speaks in riddles, and the riddle echoes with terrifying simplicity. Why Mars? The story of 3I Atlas began as the tale of a lone traveler, a solitary fragment wandering the gulf between stars. Yet as telescopes followed its course across the black, faint whispers of something more began to emerge. The light it reflected flickered with irregularities that did not belong to a single body. At times its brightness dipped and rose in patterns that no single shape could explain. The suspicion grew, cautious at first, then troubling. What if 3I Atlas was not alone? From observatories in Hawaii to mountaintops in Chile, the data accumulated. Long exposures revealed faint blurs where none should be. Reports spoke of shadows trailing behind the interstellar visitor, tiny companions moving with it across the deep. Their signals were faint, uncertain, easily dismissed as noise. But the patterns recurred. What at first appeared as errors began to take on the shape of something real. The possibility unsettled astronomers. Interstellar objects were rare enough. A single visitor had been headline enough when Oumuamua flashed past. A second Borisov had proven that such fragments were not accidents, but part of the galaxy's restless scattering of worlds. Now a third had arrived, stranger still. But if 3i Atlas traveled not as one but as many, then the story shifted again. Humanity might not be facing a lone shard of alien debris, but a cluster, a fragment swarm born of violence around another star. In science, extraordinary claims demand extraordinary evidence. Teams turn to the tools at hand. Telescopic imaging pushed to its limits, straining to resolve points of light almost erased by distance. Light curve analysis traced subtle dips and flares, searching for the telltale rhythm of multiple bodies. Models of orbital dynamics tested how a cluster would behave, whether fragments could remain bound together across interstellar space, or whether only chance alignment made them appear as companions. Each method offered partial answers, none complete. Some images seemed to show companions, others dissolved them into noise. Yet even the possibility of a flock carried unsettling implications. In the vast reaches of the galaxy, fragmentation is common. Comets break apart under tidal stresses, their shards scattering into streams that become meteor showers on distant worlds. Asteroids collide, spraying fragments into families that wander for eons. But these are local events, fragments bound within a system. For a group of bodies to escape their birth star together, to survive the crossing between stars, to arrive here still sharing a trajectory, that would be unprecedented. And yet, the data suggested exactly that. Faint objects trailing in the same arc, brightness shifts consistent with multiple reflectors. A possibility whispered in late-night discussions, humanity was witnessing not a single interstellar object, but an interstellar flock. The thought was both thrilling and terrifying. A single visitor could be dismissed as anomaly. A cluster meant pattern. A pattern meant process. Somewhere beyond the sun, in the gravity of another star, an event of violence or collapse had torn a body into many. The pieces had flown free, crossing the cold between suns, and by chance or by hidden order, they had entered the solar system together. Mars turned beneath them, a silent audience to their passage. If 3i Atlas carried companions, then the red planet was not facing a lone intruder, but a chorus. Their trajectories brushed near its orbit, not close enough to strike, but close enough to shadow the planet with mystery. To scientists, this raised questions of composition. Were these fragments icy, like Borisov, born of frozen reservoirs at the edge of alien systems? Or were they rocky, like asteroids, relics of shattered worlds? Each answer carried profound implications. Spectroscopy, though limited by faintness, hinted at complex signatures. Reflections of sunlight carried traces of dust, but not in quantities sufficient to explain the anomalies. Some signals suggested differences among the fragments themselves, as if not all were made of the same material. If true, it would mean that the flock was not uniform. It was diverse, carrying within it the fingerprints of multiple processes, perhaps even the layered story of a planet's destruction. Swarm modeling became the next frontier. Supercomputers simulated how a group of fragments might travel across interstellar distances. Could such a cluster remain cohesive for millions of years? The models said yes, but only under fragile conditions. The fragments would need to share nearly identical velocities, born of a single event so violent that they were flung outward together, yet gentle enough that they did not scatter irretrievably. The odds were small but not impossible, and if not natural, then what? The question lingered, unwelcome yet unavoidable. Clusters, flocks, swarms. These were words used in nature for comets, for birds, for fish. But in the quiet between stars, what intelligence might assemble a convoy? The idea was speculative, too bold for the language of journals. Yet in the margins of thought it stirred. If a lone shard carried questions, what did a group imply? Communication? Intention? Or only the brutal mathematics of chance? For those watching, the symbolism deepened. Humanity's future home, Mars, was receiving not one visitor, but many. The stage was no longer intimate, but crowded. The gods of antiquity once saw Mars as a place of conflict. Now science saw it as a place of convergence, where fragments from another system arrived not as singular anomaly, but as plurality. The possibility of an interstellar flock marked a first in human history. Never before had multiple interstellar objects been observed together. Never before had the galaxy delivered such a chorus to the solar system's door. If true, this was more than anomaly. It was revelation. The shadows of companions haunt the narrative of Three-Eye Atlas. Their faint signals blur at the edge of perception, yet they change the story completely. What began as the study of one object may become the study of many. Each fragment holds within it the chemistry of alien worlds, the record of forces humanity has never touched. Each fragment widens the mystery. The universe, it seems, has chosen not to send a lone messenger. It has sent a chorus of silence drifting together into the light of our sun. And Mars, silent and patient, watches them pass. The question remains, heavy with awe and unease. Is this coincidence? Or is this the first glimpse of a hidden order in the galaxy, an order that humanity has only just begun to see? When an object from another star drifts into the solar system, science demands explanations. The cosmos obeys laws. Gravity does not falter. Motion does not stray without cause. Yet Three-Eye Atlas bends those expectations. It shifts in ways not fully understood. It seems to multiply into companions, fragmenting or clustering as if undecided between unity and disarray. And above Mars, it performs this enigma upon a stage already heavy with human meaning. Theories followed quickly, as they always must. The first are natural, grounded in the familiar. Perhaps Three-Eye Atlas is a comet, its surface laced with volatile ices unknown to our system. As it nears the warmth of the sun, sublimation could send jets of gas into space, creating thrust invisible to the eye but measurable in motion. Such outgassing could account for acceleration, for changes in trajectory, even for apparent fragmentation. It is the simplest explanation, echoing what astronomers proposed for Oumuamua when its own path curved beyond gravity's pull. Yet the data complicates this comfort. The brightness of Three-Eye Atlas does not show the coma of a normal comet. Its light curve signals are irregular, inconsistent with a body shedding material symmetrically. If jets exist, they are hidden, perhaps emerging from fractures shielded from view. But to explain the anomalies, those jets must be both powerful and strangely arranged, unlike any comet seen before. Another theory points to disintegration. Perhaps Three-Eye Atlas is a fragmenting body, weakened by stresses endured during its ejection from another system. Gravitational tides may have cracked it, turning one traveler into many. This could explain the faint signals of companions, the subtle shadows trailing its path. But disintegration usually leaves a clear signature, a fading of light, a cloud of dust spreading outward. Three-Eye Atlas seems too stable, its light holding steady where it should diminish. Others speak of resonance effects. In celestial mechanics, orbits sometimes interact in hidden ways, amplifying small forces into larger shifts. Could the passage near Mars, aligned so closely with the planet's orbit, have triggered a resonance that magnified its motion? The mathematics is uncertain, but the possibility lingers. Even so, resonance does not create fragments. It does not summon companions. It cannot explain the shadows moving in chorus beside it, and so the natural theories strain. They hold part of the truth, but not all. This is where the mind wanders into the dangerous territory of the exotic, some whisper of probes. For decades, scientists like Carl Sagan and Freeman Dyson entertained the idea that advanced civilizations might send autonomous messengers across the stars. Self-replicating machines, built to wander endlessly, could outlast their makers and carry knowledge far beyond their birth. Could 3i Atlas be such a construct? Its anomalies the signs of design rather than chance? Its acceleration, not sublimation but propulsion? Its companions, not fragments but deliberate swarm? The suggestion is speculative, even unsettling, but not without precedent and thought. In 1960, Ronald Bracewell proposed that extraterrestrial civilizations might seed the galaxy with probes designed to watch, wait, and perhaps one day respond. These Bracewell probes became part of the theoretical vocabulary of SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. To some, 3i Atlas fits too uneasily within this frame to ignore. Others raise the possibility of artificial construction without intention. If another civilization perished, its debris, technological or otherwise, might drift outward like a planetary graveyard. Could 3i Atlas be the relic of such a catastrophe? A shard of machinery long dead, masquerading as stone, its strangeness born of origins we cannot yet name. Einstein's relativity reminds us that motion is perspective. What seems strange in one frame may be natural in another. Yet relativity also tells us that information cannot outrun the speed of light. If 3i Atlas were part of a dialogue across the galaxy, then it would be a slow one, a conversation stretched across millennia. Which raises a larger question, one tied to Fermi's paradox. If civilizations exist, why do we not see their evidence? Perhaps we do. Perhaps it arrives not as radio waves, but as fragments, as visitors mistaken for rocks until they misbehave. Stephen Hawking once warned against reaching out to the stars. Contact, he said, could be perilous. Just as the meeting of civilizations on Earth often ended in conquest, so too might a meeting across the stars bring danger rather than wonder. To announce ourselves to the galaxy might be to invite powers beyond our comprehension. In the shadow of 3i Atlas, his warning echoes louder. For if this object is more than stone, if it carries design or purpose, then the universe has already spoken first. The balance between rational science and unsettling speculation is fragile. Scientists hold to discipline, testing natural theories, resisting the pull of fear. But speculation is not easily silenced. Humanity has always looked into the night sky and seen mirrors of itself, gods, myths, omens, and now probes. In 3i Atlas, the mirror grows sharper. It forces the question of whether the universe is only indifferent, or whether it sometimes bends to hint at intention. Mars watches silently as these theories unfold. Its deserts do not speak. Its canyons offer no answers. Yet above it, the visitor drifts with anomalies unresolved. Perhaps it is only a fragment, breaking apart under the simple mechanics of heat and gravity. Perhaps it is a swarm born of natural violence scattering across the void. Or perhaps it is something else. A message, a machine, a shard of intelligence. The terrifying truth is that science cannot yet decide. The data is incomplete. The signals are faint. The story remains unfinished. And so humanity lives in the tension between reason and imagination, between the certainty of physics and the suspicion of something more. Theories multiply, explanations diverge, but the mystery holds, and with it the haunting possibility that the galaxy has already spoken. Not in words, but in the silent shifting path of a visitor at Mars's door. Against the backdrop of stars, 3i Atlas drifts silently. Its faint light is barely distinguishable from the cosmic noise, a fragile signal easily swallowed by darkness. Yet on Earth, an entire civilization bends its gaze toward this single speck. Across oceans and continents, telescopes pivot in unison. Algorithms search the skies. Data streams flow into supercomputers. Humanity, fragile and uncertain, has marshaled its tools to confront the mystery. It begins with the surveyors. The Pan-STARRS observatories in Hawaii, perched above the clouds on Haleakala, sweep the night sky with relentless precision. Designed to detect objects that might one day collide with Earth, they search not for glory, but for warning. It was here that Oumuamua first revealed itself, an anomaly traced among countless ordinary asteroids. It was here, too, that the faint whisper of Three-Eye Atlas was confirmed, its movement across background stars marking it as interstellar. Pan-STARRS became the sentinel that sounded the alarm, the first to glimpse the traveler's path. But discovery is only the beginning. To understand, humanity requires vision sharper than Earth's atmosphere can allow. The Hubble Space Telescope, orbiting above the distortion of air, turned its eye upon the intruder. Its instruments, sensitive enough to capture the dim glow of galaxies billions of light years away, struggled to hold a faint point of light within the solar system. Yet even in its silence, Hubble recorded whispers, light curves that hinted at irregularity, faint patterns suggesting companions or fragments. Infrared surveys joined the watch. NASA's NEOWISE mission, a repurposed space telescope designed to detect heat, scanned the object for thermal signatures. If Three-Eye Atlas were outgassing like a comet, NEOWISE would see the warmth of sublimating ices. The results were ambiguous. No strong jets of vapor appeared, no thermal bloom that could account for the acceleration. Instead, the readings hinted at something colder, darker, more resistant to simple categorization. Ground-based observatories followed, from Chile's Atacama Desert to Europe's mountaintops. They used spectroscopy, splitting the faint light into spectra, searching for chemical fingerprints. Carbon, oxygen, water, metal, each leaves its mark in reflection. Yet the spectra were incomplete, fragmented by distance and faintness. There were hints of dust, faint traces of volatile compounds, but nothing that could close the case. The object remained a riddle written in wavelengths. In Japan, the planned SORA network prepared for its role, a constellation of observatories dedicated to catching fast-moving celestial bodies. Though still limited, such efforts point to the future, an era when interstellar visitors will be tracked not by chance, but by a global architecture designed for them. For now, the tools at hand strain at their limits, piecing together fragments of knowledge before the traveler vanishes into darkness again. Orbit simulations filled the gaps. Supercomputers at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, at the European Space Agency, and in universities across the world modeled the trajectory of Three-Eye Atlas again and again. Millions of possible paths were calculated, each bending under the invisible hand of gravity. Mars loomed large in the simulations, its orbit intersecting the arc of the intruder, tiny deviations in velocity magnified into vast uncertainties. Would the object pass safely, or would its companions alter the outcome? Each run of the models produced not answers, but probabilities. The future of Three-Eye Atlas remained fluid, uncertain, a thread twisting through the fabric of possibility. Gravitational modeling offered further insight. Anomalous accelerations could be explained in part by unseen masses, fragments too small to detect, yet large enough to influence the motion of the whole. Could Three-Eye Atlas be carrying hidden shards trailing invisibly in its wake? If so, Mars might encounter not one body but many, a silent rain of fragments brushing past its orbit. And still, the data was too thin. Even with Pan-STARRS sweeping the skies, with Hubble peering from orbit, with NEOWISE sensing in infrared, with spectroscopy splitting light into fragments, the truth remained elusive. Humanity was staring at a signal on the edge of perception, like trying to understand a language with only a handful of words. The scientists knew this well. In darkened control rooms, they leaned over screens filled with faint graphs, each spike or dip a potential clue. They argued over models, recalculated error margins, tested assumptions. To some, the patterns spoke of natural forces, fragmentation, sublimation, resonance. To others, the anomalies whispered of something stranger. And through it all, the object moved relentlessly onward, indifferent to human debate. The limits of technology became painfully clear. The instruments humanity has built are powerful, yet the cosmos is vaster still. Each telescope is a lantern in a cavern too large to see. Each measurement is a fragment scattered across the darkness. To study Three-Eye Atlas is to chase a shadow moving faster than understanding. Time compounds the difficulty. Interstellar visitors do not linger. Oumuamua slipped away before the world could agree on its nature. Borisov shattered and vanished, leaving only fragments of data. Three-Eye Atlas 2 will pass. Already its course carries it onward, and soon it will fade into the deep where even Hubble cannot follow. The scientists know they are racing against inevitability. The window is closing, and so the terrifying truth emerges. Humanity may not have enough time. The tools of revelation, powerful as they are, may be too late, too few, too limited. The traveler may pass Mars, slip back into the black, and leave behind only unanswered questions. What then? What if the anomaly is never resolved? What if Three-Eye Atlas becomes another enigma like Oumuamua, a riddle glimpsed and then lost? In that silence lies the weight of humility. For all the brilliance of human tools, the cosmos still holds secrets beyond reach. The traveler from another star reminds us that knowledge is fragile, provisional, and incomplete. The universe does not yield easily. It speaks in whispers, and even the most powerful instruments hear only fragments. As Three-Eye Atlas moves past Mars, humanity watches with instruments strained to their limits. Hearts filled with awe, minds burdened by uncertainty. The tools reveal much, but not enough. And perhaps that is the deeper message. That in the face of the unknown, even the sharpest technology cannot replace wonder. In the silence of its orbit, Mars waits, a world long imagined as humanity's second home, turning endlessly beneath a thin veil of atmosphere, carrying scars from ancient floods and the emptiness of lost oceans. Into this quiet stage, the approach of Three-Eye Atlas casts a new shadow. The anomaly is not just a puzzle for astronomers. It is a question for a planet. What does this mean for Mars? The first fear is collision. Though orbital simulations predict a near pass, the presence of fragments, faint companions hinted at in light curves, raises uncertainty. A cluster behaves differently than a solitary body. Small shards can diverge, their paths perturbed by forces too faint to measure from Earth. If even one fragment were to graze Mars, the consequences would be written in stone and dust. Mars has no oceans to absorb impact. Its atmosphere is thin, less than 1% the pressure of Earth's. A small object burns briefly as a streak of light, but larger fragments reach the surface almost unimpeded. In the past, such impacts have shaped the planet profoundly. The Hellas Basin, a crater over 2,000 kilometers wide, is the scar of an ancient collision. The northern lowlands may themselves be the imprint of a world-shattering strike. On Mars, the memory of impacts is etched into its very face. Even a fragment tens of meters across could leave a crater visible from orbit. Larger bodies could throw dust into the sky, altering climate for years. For a planet already fragile, where temperatures hover near freezing and atmosphere struggles to cling, such an event could be devastating. If humanity dreams of colonizing Mars, an interstellar fragment would serve as a brutal reminder of vulnerability. The atmosphere, thin as it is, could be stirred into chaos by debris. Models show that fine dust lofted into the air can linger for months, spreading across hemispheres, turning the sky opaque. Mars already experiences global dust storms, events so vast they blanket the entire planet in shadow. The arrival of foreign material could amplify such storms, altering temperature gradients, destabilizing weather patterns. For future explorers, a storm seeded by interstellar debris would not merely be inconvenience. It could mean darkness for solar power, cold for habitats, and suffocation for fragile life support systems. The surface, too, would bear the marks. Each crater would be a wound, but also a record, a geological bookmark that future scientists could study. The chemistry of the fragments would be of extraordinary value. A collision could embed interstellar material into Martian soil, creating the first natural archive of matter from beyond the sun. But that gift would come with cost. For Mars, every strike is both knowledge and loss, and beyond physics lies the symbolism. Humanity speaks of Mars as a frontier, the next horizon of settlement. Ambitions stretch from Elon Musk's rockets to the quiet work of agencies preparing for crewed missions. Colonies are imagined beneath domes, fields of crops in pressurized habitats, cities carved into canyons. Mars is envisioned as the stage upon which humanity proves its resilience, its ability to extend life beyond Earth. Yet the presence of 3I Atlas reframes that dream. Before the first permanent footsteps are pressed into Martian dust, the cosmos has sent a reminder. This world is not secure. It is exposed. It lies vulnerable beneath the same cosmic hazards that threaten Earth, but without Earth's shields. No magnetic field. No thick blanket of atmosphere. No vast oceans to soften impact. Mars is fragile, and the anomaly of 3I Atlas makes that fragility visible. This is not the first warning. Earth itself has been shaped by impacts, from the crater that may have delivered water in its youth, to the strike that ended the reign of the dinosaurs. Mars, too, has its history written in scars. But the difference is in timing. Earth's great impacts belong to deep history. Humanity was not there to see them. Mars, however, may be about to receive its warning in real time, while the species watches, while plans are made to live upon it. The philosophical weight is immense. Colonization is often spoken of as escape, a way to preserve life against catastrophe. Yet if Mars is to serve as refuge, it too must face the cosmos. Interstellar fragments care nothing for human plans. The very moment Mars is imagined as safe haven, it becomes the stage for a visitor whose anomaly unsettles predictions. The mirror could not be clearer. Fragility follows humanity wherever it goes, and still, there is wonder. If fragments were to strike Mars, they would deliver samples humanity might otherwise never touch. No mission, no probe, no telescope could hope to capture material from another star directly. Yet here the galaxy itself might bring it. A shard of alien chemistry buried in Martian soil would be priceless, a message in matter carried across light years. It would mean answers, but only if humanity survives long enough to uncover them. Astronomers calculate, engineers speculate, philosophers reflect. In the interplay of probability and symbolism, Mars becomes more than a planet. It becomes a stage where human ambition confronts cosmic reality. The red deserts whisper a question. Can life truly find safety beyond Earth, or is vulnerability universal? Stephen Hawking once spoke of humanity as an advanced species living on a fragile world, a speck suspended in cosmic violence. Mars is no different. Its silence is only the silence of waiting. And now, as 3I Atlas passes near, that silence deepens into warning. The terrifying truth is simple. Before humanity claims Mars, before habitats rise in its canyons, the universe reminds us that no world is exempt. Colonization may not mean escape from hazard. It may only mean exchanging one set of risks for another. And in that exchange lies the humbling realization that the cosmos does not bend to human will. Mars, the dream of survival, now mirrors fragility instead. The visitor's anomaly is not merely an astronomical puzzle. It is a message written in shadow and silence. Before humanity settles, before Mars becomes home, the universe asks a question. Are you ready for the dangers that follow you across the stars? When the anomaly of 3I Atlas reached the public eye, it was no longer only the concern of observatories and data sheets. News headlines carried the story beyond the walls of science, painting it in tones of mystery and fear. On glowing screens across the world, The traveler from another star became myth again. Some called it omen, others opportunity. To many, it was a reminder that the universe remains vast, indifferent, and filled with questions larger than human certainty. Public reaction unfolded in layers. For some, the word interstellar was enough to ignite awe. A fragment that had crossed the space between suns was passing through the solar system, brushing near Mars. To imagine such a journey, millions, perhaps billions of years drifting in silence, was to glimpse time on a scale that dwarfs civilization. Wonder bloomed, mixed with a sense of smallness. For others, the reports of anomalies stirred unease. Headlines spoke of fragments, companions, accelerations that defied simple explanation. The thought of an object behaving strangely, its path bending unpredictably near the very planet humanity hoped to colonize, became a seed for fear. Social media amplified it, turning speculation into narrative. The visitor became more than data. It became story, shaped by imagination as much as by evidence. Scientists stood between these extremes, balancing discipline with curiosity. They spoke cautiously, describing probabilities and uncertainties, warning against premature conclusions. They reminded the public that comets fragment, that outgassing shifts trajectories, that data is often incomplete. Yet even within the scientific community, the mystery lingered. In late-night discussions and conference calls across time zones, the question persisted. What if natural explanations are not enough? The tension was not only in the data, but in the very act of inquiry. Humanity's tools are limited, its measurements fragile, its interpretations provisional. Every new discovery about 3I Atlas seemed to complicate the picture rather than clarify it. The more astronomers learned, the less they felt they understood. The object became a mirror for human humility, reflecting the boundaries of knowledge. Philosophers have long warned of this paradox. Knowledge expands like a circle drawn on the surface of ignorance. The larger the circle grows, the more of the unknown it touches. To learn more is to encounter more that cannot yet be explained. 3I Atlas embodies this truth. Each fragment of data widens the horizon of mystery. Each attempt at understanding reveals new uncertainties, and so the traveler becomes not just an object in space, but a metaphor for the human condition. It drifts near Mars, yet its true meaning lies in how it forces humanity to see itself. For centuries, humans believed the cosmos revolved around Earth. Later, they believed it was governed by laws they could fully describe. Now, confronted with an interstellar object that bends predictions and multiplies into companions, they are reminded that certainty is temporary and humility eternal. The paradox deepens into philosophy. If the universe delivers enigmas that resist explanation, what does that mean for humanity's place within it? Perhaps the lesson is not that the cosmos is hostile, but that it is vast beyond comprehension. Perhaps mystery is not a threat but an invitation, an opening into deeper wonder, and yet the fear remains. Hawking's warning echoes faintly. Contact with the unknown can be perilous. To seek is noble, but to assume safety may be naive. As humanity dreams of colonizing Mars, the presence of 3I Atlas reminds it that the universe does not yield easily. The cosmos is not a stage built for comfort, but a wilderness filled with forces indifferent to human plans. The traveler drifts, silent, while Earth watches. Scientists continue their work, running simulations, refining models, testing explanations. Citizens continue their speculation, turning mystery into myth. And through it all, the object remains what it always was, a fragment from another star, carrying secrets that may never be fully known. In the end, 3I Atlas becomes less about itself and more about humanity's reflection in it. It is a reminder that knowledge is fragile, that ambition is vulnerable, that wonder is essential. It is a mirror held up by the cosmos, forcing humanity to see both its brilliance and its smallness. The terrifying paradox remains. The more we learn of the universe, the less we understand. And in that tension lies humility, awe, and the haunting beauty of being alive in a cosmos that continues to whisper secrets just beyond reach. Why here? Why now? The question that opened the mystery remains unanswered. 3i Atlas arrived silently, traced only in faint light, and lingered long enough to bend the imaginations of scientists and dreamers alike. It came as though drawn to Mars, the planet humanity most often chooses as its mirror. And then, as quickly as it appeared, it prepared to fade again into the abyss from which it came. Perhaps it is coincidence. The mathematics of orbits, the impartial geometry of the solar system, brings fragments near planets without intention. Chance, repeated often enough across the vastness of space, can create alignments that feel like destiny. The traveler's anomaly near Mars may be nothing more than this, a probability unfolding without purpose. Or perhaps it is something deeper. Perhaps hidden order lies beneath what appears random. In physics, symmetries guide the universe. Patterns unseen shape the flow of time and space. Gravity binds worlds together across billions of kilometers. Quantum fields knit matter into being with invisible threads. If order governs at scales too large or too subtle for current knowledge, then 3i Atlas may be its expression. A reminder that the cosmos is not chaos, but design beyond comprehension. Science, disciplined and cautious, does not choose between these answers. It leaves the question open, suspended in uncertainty. Yet in that openness lies the tension between rational knowledge and human wonder. Mars, the chosen stage, continues its orbit, silent witness to the drama. Its deserts bear no voice, but in them humanity projects meaning. The thin sky above Valles Marineris, the rusted plains around Olympus Mons, the frozen poles locked in carbon dioxide frost, all now belong to a story larger than geology. For the first time, humanity has watched as a visitor from another star bent its path near the very planet chosen for its future. Symbol and science converge, leaving no clear division between what is measured and what is imagined. The crescendo builds not in the object, but in what it awakens. Humanity stands at a threshold. Rockets pierce the atmosphere. Spacecraft touch the Martian surface. Colonization is no longer myth, but plan. And just as the dream of an interplanetary existence solidifies, the universe sends a fragment that unsettles certainty. It is as though the cosmos reminds its children that escape does not mean safety, that fragility extends wherever life dares to go. Einstein once said that the most incomprehensible thing about the universe is that it is comprehensible. His equations bent space and time, revealing order where chaos once seemed to reign. Yet even he knew that comprehension is partial, temporary. The horizon always moves. For every law discovered, another mystery rises. Hawking, decades later, echoed that humility. He warned of the dangers of assuming safety in a universe filled with unknowns. He spoke of black holes where information escapes in paradoxical whispers, and of civilizations whose contact might bring peril as easily as progress. In the shadow of 3i Atlas, their voices converge. Science and philosophy must meet. Equations explain part of the riddle, but awe explains the rest. And so the story closes where it began, with silence. The Atlas drifts past Mars, its faint light diminishing with every passing night. Telescopes strain to follow, but soon even the best instruments will lose its trace. The traveler will return to darkness, perhaps to wander for millions of years more, perhaps to vanish entirely into the void. What it carried, fragments, anomalies, companions, or secrets, will remain unanswered. Yet Mars will remember. Humanity will remember. For though the visitor leaves no monument, no trace upon the red deserts, it leaves an imprint upon the mind. It forces a species on the edge of interplanetary life to confront its humility, its vulnerability, its wonder. The final image is simple, a small fragment receding into cosmic night. Behind it, Mars turns quietly beneath a thin sky. Beyond Mars, Earth glows faintly, a pale sphere of oceans and cloud. filled with people who looked up and asked questions too large for certainty. Atlas fades, but the riddle remains. Why here? Why now? Coincidence or hidden order? The answer lies beyond reach. What matters is that the question was asked, and that humanity, fragile yet curious, was present to ask it. The silence of the cosmos deepens once more. And in that silence, both Mars and humanity are changed.